Still come back to order. Motions. Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Rule 34, the rules of the Senate, I move that House Bill 3018 be withdrawn from the Judiciary Committee, brought to the floor and taken up for immediate consideration and read a second time.
Senator from Oregon moves that the House Bill 3018 be withdrawn from the Committee of Judiciary, be taken up for immediate consideration and read a second time. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the previous question.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves the previous question. The yeas? Roll call. Thank you. Yeas and nays have been demands. The demand sustained. The demand is sustained. All those in... The question is on ordering the previous question. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Senator from Brooke, for what purpose do you...
If we wish to withdraw House Bill 3018 from the Judiciary Committee, we should vote aye. If we do not wish to, we should vote nay. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Forgive me. I'm being corrected here. It's the motion on the previous question. I'll give time enough for anybody to change the vote if they choose to. Got 9 absent. That's not working. Senator from Randolph, state your point.
Point of inquiry, and the point is, Mr. President, if we wish to actually discuss the motion that's been made, we would have to vote against the motion to move the previous question. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close machine ascertain the results on this question. 21 yeas, 11 nays, 2 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the motion adopted. Question now is on the motion that House Bill 3018 be withdrawn from the Committee on the Judiciary and taken up for immediate consideration and read a second time. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the motion adopted. The question, excuse me. Senate will be at ease. The reason that the Senate is at ease, we're waiting to get the bill to bring it over, and then we'll go from there. You're welcome. Senate will come back to order. Clerk will read the bill a second time.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 3018, establishing that 18 is the age of consent and removing the ability of an underage person to obtaining a consent to marry through their parents, legal guardians, or by petition to the circuit court. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill? Senator from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill be advanced to third reading with a right to amend.
Is there objection? Senator from Cabell.
I thought he moved it. He said he moved, but I get.
Okay. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. The bill will be advanced to third right to amend. Introduction of guest. Remarks by members. Senator from Cabell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know there's a lot of contention over this bill, but I wanted to speak to it for a moment. And the point during the committee last night, and respect all the members of the Judiciary Committee that were in disagreement with my position on this 18-year marriage bill. I respect each and every one of them and their diligence. However, what we have in this state frequently is what's called grooming. And you have men in their 30s or older who groom young girls. And the next thing you know, some young girl has convinced her parents to let her get married. And it's really close to duress. It's an undue influence is what that is. It's known in the law as undue influence. Undue influence can set aside another contract, and it is actually grounds to set aside, a divorce. It may be grounds for an annulment. But what we have here is a good bill because it does recognize that we are not in the 1950s or 60s. And there's some beautiful stories that I heard yesterday about folks that, their parents did conceive. Even a member of the Senate told his own story. A child at age, the parents were 17 and 16, but I submit to you that's a different time. And that I represented a girl who was in the 8th grade, and I got her a divorce. Now that's a fact. She called my office the other day. She needs another divorce. But anyway, she was literally married and divorced in the 8th grade. And in this day and time, 80% plus of the children that get married, their marriage ends in divorce for obvious reasons. It's hard to stay married. It's hard to stay married. So I think we're moving into the modern era with this. I wish we could have worked out an amendment yesterday or last evening, but, there was nobody that even spoke against the bill. Nobody in the committee that I recall spoke against this bill. We just had some procedural motions and then a vote. So I'm glad we're going to take this up tomorrow. Look forward to a vibrant debate, and I appreciate the indulgence, Mr. President.
Junior Senator from the 7th.
Mr. President, I appreciate very much the discussion on this. I certainly wasn't prepared for this discussion. Listen, I'm one of those guys that I've got parents who 50 years later are still giddy teenagers that were married at the age of 16. And this guy who's the luckiest guy in the world, I've got the greatest parents in the world. They're remarkable. My dad was a coal miner for 51 years, suffers from black lung today. Remarkable individual. My mother dropped out of high school, went back, got her vocational degree. My remarks are that I can accept a number of 16, right? My parents were married at 16. They are disgustingly in love. To this day, they can't keep their hands off each other. And so I would ask this body to consider a more reasonable figure of 16. I support that figure. But the idea that somehow that my parents made a mistake, I just disagree with that. I think 16 is a reasonable figure. I agree we ought to have a floor on this issue, but the idea that there's some finite figure of 18, I think my parents think they did the right thing. And 50 years later, these Gideon-loved teenagers, there are a lot of folks like that across West Virginia. I think 16 is a reasonable figure. I think tomorrow there ought to be an amendment changing this to 16. I think our counterparts will agree to 16. I think this is about a floor as opposed to a finite number. And I just ask this body to consider that over the next 24 hours. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks, Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been married for 33 years, and to a beautiful, loving wife that I got married to in high school. And so I also have strong feelings about this, but also know that there's a problem to be addressed. And so it's a good thing to have this bill on the floor with the right to amend. This bill is still being crafted. It was brought to the floor with going to third with right to amend. And I do think that there are harms right now that the senator from Cabell has mentioned that I think are real. And knowing that, and also balancing that out with knowing what it means to be a mature high school student, two mature high school students in love, and getting married and creating a life together, that's a family born and a family that stayed together. So I think every one of us in this chamber values that and understands that. I also think that there's some things here to fix, and that's what this bill's trying to do. And so I'm glad to have this to go to third with right to amendment. I appreciate the opportunity.
Further remarks. Miscellaneous business, Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subject to announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m., and I have one announcement.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Rules will meet tomorrow morning at 10:50 a.m. in the Senate President's Conference Room.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the Senate stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The Senate's adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.